Okay. 2:59, he's got the audio on, and he's coming up for the video, and we're gonna start in about 30 seconds. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a special city council meeting we called for March 26, 2020. It's 3:00 p.m., and I'm going to ask our city clerk to please call the roll of the aldermen. Please take your mute buttons off while you answer your name, roll call, and then please put them back on mute.
Alderman Kinsella.
Here.
Alderman Hazel.
Here.
Alderwoman Duco.
Here.
Alderman Randall.
Here.
Alderman Ferguson.
Here.
Alderman Anthony. Alderman Anthony.
I can't hear you. Here.
He's here.
He's here. Alderman Obian.
Here.
Alderman Dintelman.
Here.
Alderwoman Schaefer.
Here.
Alderwoman Steele.
Here.
Alderman Rothweiler.
Here.
Alderman Elmore. Alderman Elmore. Alderman Elmore.
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Wygant.
Here.
Alderman Wiggington. Alderman Wiggington. Alderman Wiggington.
Here. Here.
And Alderman Barfield.
Here.
Okay, all present.
Okay, everyone's present. We thank you. At this time, we're going to suspend the calling of the department heads. In the room here in the council chambers is myself, Mark Eckert, city clerk who just called the roll, Jennifer Gain, and Scott Markovich is helping us with all the audio and video. So I certainly thank them for all their hard work. At this time, if you're able to, please help recite with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
Flag
United
of the United States of America,
America
States of America,
and to the
the
republic
republic which it stands,
one nation under God, one nation
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
liberty
for all.
and justice for all.
That's all very unique. We have no public hearing today. At this time, I will open public participation. We have an opportunity for someone to call in. Okay, how do we do this, Jenny? Is someone calling in? Do we? No.
No, that was somebody else. Just ask if
Somebody.
there's any public.
Is there any public participation? Anybody that happens to be on the line?
That's Michael Hagberg.
Okay. Your comment?
Yeah, I have questions. The city must already adhere to all state laws, so why does the city of Belleville need an ordinance that mirrors state emergency declarations? And the second item is, states that have attempted to restrict the sales of firearms or ammunition have lost lawsuits brought under the Second Amendment of the United States. Do you feel the city of Belleville has the authority to usurp the Second Amendment in preventing the transfer of firearms and ammunition? That is all.
Okay, we've noted your comments, and, is there any other public participation? If there's no other public participation, I will close public participation. And we will move to ordinances. 7A, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only, ordinance number 8436. Do I hear a motion to read by title only?
I'll make a motion.
So moved.
Okay, that was Schaefer.
Second.
Schaefer and
And
second.
Wiggins.
Okay, hold on now. I believe I heard first Alderman Schaefer made the motion, second by Alderman Steele. Is that correct?
Yes, Steele.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have a motion and we have a second to read this by title only, then I'll give a little explanation. All in favor of reading it by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'll ask the clerk to read the ordinance by title only.
7A, ordinance 8436, 2020, an ordinance amending Title 13, General Offenses, Chapter 130, Offenses Against Public Peace and Safety, Section 130.15, Civil Emergencies of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Belleville, as amended pertaining to local state of emergency.
I would like to now ask for a motion to approve ordinance 8436.
So moved.
And who was that by?
Second.
Who was the first one to speak?
Alderman, Wiggington.
Wigington, and who was the second?
Oh, yeah.
Schaefer.
Second by Wygant.
Okay.
Okay, Wigington and Wygant, we'll go with that. Now, let me explain before I open for any comments, and I'll call by wards here so it's orderly. Just so you understand, last week, we've been listening to a number of phone conferences and video conferences between St. Clair County and the mayors of St. Clair County with the county chairman and the public St. Clair County Health Department. Last week on Thursday, they recommended that each city should consider to have their own declaration because they feel, and if they feel it's proven, that if we need to make a claim to FEMA, we will have better results if we have our own claim of a declaration for a disaster. The mayor, by law, is allowed to make a 7-day declaration on his or her own, but then we're here today. This ordinance that Jenny just read is to ask your approval to extend this declaration for 30 days.
Correct.
So that's what we're voting on today. We would be voting on a motion to extend the disaster declaration for the city of Belleville, which was recommended to us by our St. Clair County Emergency Management Team and the St. Clair County Public Health and the St. Clair County Chairman, all recommended that each city would consider their own declaration because they believe it will help us with FEMA if there is the possibility to recoup any expenses that we may occur during this disaster. So that is why we're doing this today. I appreciate you being here for this, online for this. So are there any questions? And I'll go down Ward 1. Anybody have a question about what I just explained? Ward 1, 2, 3, 4?
Mayor, it's Kent Randall.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, where did the language for the ordinance come from?
Comes from, it's an example of state,
Illinois Municipal.
the Illinois Municipal League provided us a draft. Garrett reviewed and prepared all this in accordance with the state of Illinois, and he compared it to what the county had also provided us.
Okay,
Hold it. Kent, you have another question?
Mr. Hagbard had raised the question regarding, I believe it's section 2D, number 7. that would restrict or close down the retail sale of firearms. So could you answer that question, please?
That is a part of the governor's 9-page executive order. That's a part of the governor's executive order. It's not actually spelled out.
Here, it's in our ordinance.
It's in our ordinance also.
Can
I'm
I
sorry.
interrupt, Mayor?
Hang on 1 second.
Mayor,
He's looking at our ordinance.
Garrett, yeah, go ahead, Garrett.
yes, this is an ordinance, that is modeled after the, ordinance that was provided by the Albany Municipal League, and in particular, that section that Alderman Randall inquired about is actually in the current form of section 130.15 of the Code of Ordinances, so it's something that's already,
In our
local law by ordinance.
I understand that, Mr. Horner. Don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it was part of the former ordinance. So if we were to exclude that, well, where would that leave us, Mayor?
I'd go back to the city attorney if he thinks that would be advisable. That is a situation I would take it, Garrett, that would be only so enacted if the governor would so take that decision. I don't know that we as a local municipality would want to be so specific as to over, you know, I don't know. That's a question for the attorney.
Oh, at this point, it's something that you currently have. If you wanted to repeal that section, that's a decision for the city council as a whole. But it's something that's currently in your ordinance. It would continue under this proposed ordinance. The city council is free to amend by majority of the votes in any fashion. But again, I don't necessarily see it as the issue that was raised in public participation.
So if that would be
Does it
something.
have any impact? Does it have any impact on receiving the money from FEMA?
I can't answer that today. I can't personally answer that today. We haven't even, you know, just hours ago, Governor Pritzker announced that the request for the State of Illinois disaster federal declaration to the president was just approved this afternoon. So we have not seen anything pertaining to the disaster and the FEMA regulations. That was step number one. This is our first step, and I think we'd have to look at that. If this body wants to change our ordinance, that should go to ordinance committee and then should come to the whole body, as Garrett said. I'll be honest with you, with everything that's been on our plate the last week, I did not personally catch this to be an issue with everything else we're trying to get accomplished at the moment, keeping people safe, et cetera. I didn't catch that particular, and no one called before this meeting. No one's ever questioned that particular article. So we would have
Mayor,
to.
this is Alderman Wigginton.
Yes.
Alderman Wigginton, can I just weigh in just for a second? I know you're going by large, but Alderman Randall brings up an interesting point. But the city attorney, and I can't say I don't agree with him, but the city attorney says that that's already in our ordinance the way it sits. And I have to be truthful. As a businessman, I'm a nervous wreck of what's going to happen now and going forward. And I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, and that's kind of a play on words. As far as getting any aid from the government, the state, I think we're in such a precarious position now. I'm going to end up being closed for 2.5 weeks, and all over the state of Illinois. It's just not me. I'm not being selfish, but you know we're getting hit pretty hard, and I don't want to get out of the canoe in the middle of the stream, gamble at not passing this, bring it to ordinance illegal, which is going to be a long, drawn-out affair. But Alderman Randall, I think he's got a very, very good point, and we probably missed it. But at this stage of the game, you know, and again, I'm selfish. I don't want to lose my business, and I don't want to see this city lose any chance of possibly getting any kind of funding or aid coming in the near future, because there's none of us that have a crystal ball that know how long it's going to last. And if we start losing a lot of businesses in this town, we know how we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for tax revenue now. We're really going to be hurting.
And let me just say, my biggest concern, while we have to be very careful with HIPAA, I ask the department heads each day to let me know about the number of people that have called in, for whatever reasons. We've had minimal responses from any department, but I worry about our first responders, and we could have if this thing carries on, and we would be hit in a negative way with our staffing, we could have some excessive amount of overtime if we start to see our people have to be quarantined, etc. So there's a lot of unknowns, as you just said. I would say that this is something we could look into in the future, but I would recommend that we would consider passing this 30-day extension right now, so that we are covered for FEMA if indeed we start to see high numbers of overtime and other expenses that we at this point don't even see yet.
Mr. Mayor, this is Rafi Ovian, Alderman in Ward 4.
Yes.
My major concern is if we have inmates released from prison, and it basically goes ahead and throws a fear into the community, and we come back at some point and fast track the ordinance to reflect allowing the gun owners to go, or rather the gun owners to go ahead who have a legal right to carry, to purchase ammunition if so needed. Thank you.
I think we should investigate this and must consider it, but we couldn't vote on that today. And not to vote on the extension of the declaration, I personally, and I think I hear this from Garrett, I think it would be a mistake. We would possibly risk some reimbursement. But if this concern, if what you caught here as mentioned today is a concern, we should follow it up with investigating it and with taking the proper action in the near future.
That's all I want, is basically to see if we can fast track it if we approve the original ordinance. Thank you.
And the city attorney's on the line. He hears you. So we have a motion and we have a second to approve this ordinance number 8436 as was read by title only, but in essence is an extension of 30 days of the disaster ordinance, that the declaration that we wrote last week Thursday for the city of Belleville. So this would help us indeed hopefully qualify for all FEMA reimbursement that we might be eligible for. So is there any further questions or comments about what we're voting on? We have one item on the agenda today.
Mayor, Alderman Wigginton again. Let's hope in 30 days we can start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Of course, none of us have a crystal ball, but we've got to get things. But I have to say, I applaud Alderman Randall for being astute. I've looked through that. I have to tell you, I never even thought about that. But I think time is of the essence, and 30 days is going to go by pretty quick. Like I said, I hope that we start seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, but I think we have to move now.
Any other comments before I call for a vote?
Mayor, this is Alderman Ferguson.
Yes. Alderman Ferguson.
Alderman Ferguson?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. My other question, I agree with Alderman Wigginton, and I appreciate Alderman Randall's questions. At the end of 30 days, is this something that we revisit again in City Council if we have to extend this?
Yes. If this situation, heaven forbid, is not concluded or under control, we would then have the consideration of extending it further. And I would say if it does go to that, we would certainly need the consideration for FEMA's help if we go on beyond 30 days. That would really concern me, what it would mean to our financial situation. So that's a good question, but that's how I interpret it. We would just have to extend it at another special meeting, or at a meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask the clerk to call for a roll call vote on ordinance number 8436.
Kinsella,
Kinsella,
What votes aye?
he said aye. Hazel,
Hello?
Hazel,
Alderman Hazel votes aye.
okay,
Duco,
Aye.
Randall,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Anthony, Anthony,
did somebody hear Alderman Anthony vote aye, or did I just?
Yes.
Yes, he said
Yeah, I
aye.
did.
Okay,
Yeah, I heard him.
he's got a bad connection, okay.
Ovian,
Yeah, I heard him.
Ovian,
Aye.
Dintelman,
Aye.
Schaefer,
Aye.
Steele,
Aye.
Rothweiler,
Aye.
Elmore,
Aye.
Wygant,
Aye.
Wigington,
Aye.
Barfield.
Aye.
that motion carries. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I just want to tell you, I will continue to forward you information that we get, that we can share. We'll forward it by email. Of course, all of you, if you have questions, you can certainly call my cell phone. We do have staff, limited amounts of staff working because there's some business we have to carry on. If any of you have any specific questions, just call either the clerk or myself. We're here each day. The other thing is I've been sending out an update once or twice a week by email. It's also going on Facebook. You can share it with your ward, some of you have, and it's also going on the website. I want to say thank you. We put out a request. Jen Ferguson helped me put out a request for food for the area food pantries. I got feedback yesterday that they were getting a great response, so that is much appreciated. I thank what all of you have individually done. If there's no further urgent business as far as announcements or questions, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn
Mayor.
this special meeting. Who's
Mayor.
this?
Shelley wants you to call
Shelley?
on census.
This is Shelley Schaefer.
Yes,
Just a reminder, census.
yes. Yes. we-
Everybody put it out there.
Yep, we got to do this because now more than ever, not that it always wasn't important, but here's really a very clear reminder. Getting a complete count when we don't know what we face financially is probably more important than ever. So thank you, Shelley, for the reminder, but we've got to each take this very seriously and carry this torch in our wards. I'm asking for a motion.
Mayor?
Yes.
Hey, Mayor, I was gonna say, anyone who has Facebook or social media, you need to post that out there and share the, 2020, mycensus2020.gov.
Okay, good point. Good point.
And I have one quick question, Mayor, about the ordinance we just passed. You mentioned, this is Alderman Elmore, Ward 7, about, expenses that could be incurred as of yet. Has the city budget incurred any major expenses due
No,
to this change?
it's been minor so far. We've very minor thus far.
Sanitizers, gloves.
Yes,
Okay.
some few sanitizers, and we're even getting some for free, and some gloves. We're getting an order of PPEs from the county. We jumped on board to a request from St. Clair County emergency management, our police and fire chief turned in an order, they should be getting it today. But we've had very minor, but the big thing is gonna be overtime. If we would start to see people go down, get quarantined, we have one person quarantined to my knowledge so far, and it's not because they have suspicion, but it's because of association and they have to stay away from work because of that. So if this starts to accelerate, overtime could be an issue. That's where that's our concern. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Okay, thank you, Greg. Motion to adjourn from Elmore.
Elmore, do I hear a second?
Second from Ferguson.
Second, Ferguson.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much this is great to have 100% calling in. This worked fairly well. I'm happy with the results, and thanks for being patient with us. Don't hesitate to call or email if you have questions. Good afternoon.
It worked better than I.
Thank you.
You can just actually click. It is, it went fairly well. You want to sign this real quick?
Yeah, okay, I will, but
Take it.
where the hell was his thing? I couldn't.
Okay, so here it says, order the discontinuance of selling, distributing, dispensing, or giving away firearms or ammunition of any character whatsoever. So basically, it's giving you control of firearms, but that's actually word for word from our ordinance.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, when you think about it, okay, so ordinance, the